Hello everyone, it's me, Serenity Star, and today we will talk about Sherlock Holmes. Elementary. So, I'm going to talk about the Sherlock Holmes video games. Only the real adventure games, because there are some that are only like puzzle games, and though they are also fun to play, they don't really have a story, like a real story behind them. So they are all by Frogwares, and I love them so much. Let me just have a look. I made a few notes. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 8 games. Wow, has it been 8 games already? I don't believe it. And the first one of them was still in a very different way to play. Like, you could not really walk. It was only first-person perspective, and you would turn your vision. And this game was a lot about riddles and puzzles. And then to me at least, the real adventure series started with the case of the silver earring. So let me just give you the order of the games first, which is, as I said, the mystery of the mummy, the case of the silver earring, the awakened, my favorite, Sherlock Holmes versus Arsène Lupin, also called Nemesis. I don't know why some call it versus Arsène Lupin and others call it Nemesis. No idea. Then Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper, The Testament of Sherlock Holmes, Crimes and Punishments, and Sherlock Holmes, Devil's Daughter. And I am going in order of appearance here, but I'm going to tell you which are my favorite games and why, and what about those games I liked especially and what I did not like that much. So let's start with the mystery of the mummy. So first of all, here's the story. The mystery of the mummy. Answering a frantic letter from the future wife of a distant cousin, Elizabeth Montcalf, Sherlock Holmes arrives at the family manor to help solve the mysterious disappearance of her father, Lord Montcalf, a well-known Egyptologist. Scotland Yard believes him to have committed suicide by immolation, but the young lady believes differently. Unfortunately, Dr. Watson is away on vacation, so Holmes is by himself in the largely abandoned manor. Or is he? So, The Mystery of the Mummy is an awesome game, but it has a little bit of only riddle puzzle game feeling, because this is mostly what you have, but the puzzles and the riddles and the things you have to solve are extremely good and sometimes difficult to solve. This is why I liked it. So in this game you are only in one place, which is the manor, but the manor has really a lot of different rooms, some of them to be discovered because they're hidden, or some of them are locked and you have to find a way to get that door unlocked and stuff like that. So there is nobody there. You get there, not even Watson is with you, which is a shame actually. And yeah, mysterious things are going on, and this is absolutely the kind of stuff I love. The cat's on my lap, by the way. Yeah, so this is an awesome game. A lot of stuff about ancient Egypt, which I always love so much. Ancient Egypt has always fascinated me. The mummy things, pharaohs, and all those hidden things, they're all to be discovered and still haven't been discovered. I think this is extremely interesting, and I don't know, it thrills me. So this is why I love this game, though it is more like you have to solve riddles all the time. There is not much else to do than solve riddles, but I like that. There are some kind of riddles that I don't like, but like puzzles. I'm not a big puzzle fan, but the rest I really loved. So, and then to the next game, Sherlock Holmes, The Case of the Silver Earring. To me, it made a very big leap because the graphics and gameplay changed so much. So, Sherlock Holmes, The Case of the Silver Earring. Let's first hear the story. The Case of the Silver Earring. Receiving an invitation from Lord Cavendish Smith, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson attend a party in honor of Lavinia Bromsby, daughter of wealthy industrialist and party host Sir Melvyn Bromsby. Things then take a sharp turn when, in the midst of a speech, Sir Melvyn is shot by some unseen perpetrator hidden in the room. All suspicion and initial evidence points to Lavinia, the daughter. Determined to get to the bottom of this, Sherlock Holmes takes the case, but what seems to be a simple murder will take the path through the long and complicated history of Sir Bromsby's estate. So I loved this game. This is the kind of adventure game I love most, to be honest. This is just the original point and click adventure game. I love it. And in this game you have various places to explore. Like there's the main manor where the murder has happened. You of course have to explore. You have to investigate, take measurements, and take your magnifying glass. You have to interview people, witnesses, also solve riddles, of course. There are also puzzles. Then you have to go to different places. There is some sort of a church, and there is a wilderness where you have to find a way into a cave, if I'm not mistaken. Like there are a lot of leads you have to follow, and I love when there are many places you can explore. I'm not the biggest fan of games where you are stuck in one place and have to explore that one place over and over again. So this is what I loved about the game. And there are awesome twists, like in the beginning you have suspicion of who the murder might be. Then during the game the evidences lead to someone totally different. This is the other cat. And then later on to someone else. So you have a lot of options, and you have to use your skills of investigation to find out who the real culprit is and his or her motives. So loved then we come to my absolute favorite game of all the Sherlock Holmes games, which is Sherlock Holmes The Awakened. And this is creepy. I love it. But first, let's listen to the story. The Awakened. Story. September 6, 1894. Aboard Sherlock Holmes stares out his window. The detective is going through another frustrating dry spell where no case has presented itself worthy of his talents. He's about to get his wish. Word soon reaches him of the disappearance of a young Maori manservant who works for the wealthy Captain Stanwick. Holmes quickly deduces that the boy had not left of his own choice, but was kidnapped by two men. Following the clues takes them to the docks near the River Thames, where Holmes and John Watson soon learn that many similar disappearances have occurred. Further investigation turns up a bizarre subterranean temple where they come across a bloodied and tortured corpse upon a strange sacrificial altar set before an equally strange statue of a horrific tentacle creature. Sherlock soon realizes that there is much more to this case than even he could have imagined when he initially began. His search for answers will take him not only to the continent, but across the Atlantic to America itself, unraveling a dark plot along the way. Trivia. In one of the newspaper articles, mention is made of a daring robbery in France by a thief who left his initials AL, an obvious foreshadowing of a crossover game yet to come, which would pit Holmes against master thief Arsène Lupin. During the train ride back to England, a young boy enters the room of Holmes and Watson. The child hands Sherlock a puzzle box, to which the master detective easily solves. Watson gives the boy advice on using his little grey cells to help him solve such mysteries. The child's mother comes looking for him. His name is Hercule. This is a nod to Frogwares' earlier Agatha Christie series of games, most of which starred her famous detective Hercule Poirot. So, The Awakened is so awesome. This is a very... Maybe we're talking? This is a very creepy game. And this is also like there are rituals happening. You see a lot of blood. You see a lot of mutilated bodies, people, and it is really very, very thrilling. I love games like that are mysterious and like a little bit paranormal, you could say. And again, you have a lot of creepy places to explore. But let me tell you one thing. The creepiest of all of those places and things you see is Watson. Boy, I don't know, this was the cat. I don't know if some of you have played the game. I suggest you to. The thing is, you can choose between first and third person view, and I prefer the first person view because it gives me more of a feeling that I am like Sherlock. I'm the one playing. And this is so you are first person view, and every time you are somewhere in a very creepy place with this creepy music playing, and you turn around and suddenly Watson's in your face. And this happens all the time. And then Watson, you're scaring me to hell. What's happening? Like he's on the other end of the room. You are somewhere reading something written in blood with this creepy music, and you turn around and Watson in your face saying, "What have you found there, Sherlock?" So the creepiest thing of all is Dr. John Watson in this game. I have to say, I loved. This is, of course, a very startling thing, but still, kind of maybe it contributed to the suspense of the game. Who knows? So this is my favorite because of all the suspense. And this is a big case, like you explore extremely many places. Can you say that? Extremely many? This sounds strange, but it is like you are, of course, there's Baker Street, where you also do experiments on your table. I think this is the first time this came to place in the Sherlock Holmes games, and this is one of my favorite features in the games, that you can go back to Baker Street and then you have your archives where you can look up at old newspapers or encyclopedias about stuff, and you have your small laboratory table where you can make experiments with chemicals to find out the consistency of things or the origin of things. That is something important. This is also what leads to a lot of places. Like he finds a substance and has to find out where it comes from. Then through the experiments, he finds out where they come from and goes to that place. So there's also the harbor at night, and it is also a creepy place. There are a lot of warehouses, and you talk to people, and you find hidden boxes, blood smeared and things like that. And eventually your adventure even takes you to the United States, to Louisiana, and there you find out like the root of all evil, kind of, and you find mutilated bodies in a swamp, in a creepy swamp. Cat in the litter box. And at one point you're in a asylum. You're in an asylum. Oh, and I have a thing for asylums. I think asylums are the creepiest places you could ever go. And in this, like, environment and the feeling of the game, this is like perfect. I love it so much, and you talk to crazy people, but they seem to know things, and then you kind of find out that they've been experimented on, like very evil experiments. You find notes about the doctor performing those experiments, and then you even get to an abandoned, I don't even know if it's abandoned, but a very small British island in the middle of a storm. Like, it's dark, it's raining, the waves are raging about, and you have to explore like kind of old pirate caves. Like they were old pirate hiding places. I think, did you find that out on a map or in a book? Somewhere there was kind of like a treasure map or a treasure description as where to find the entrance, the hidden entrance to that pirate cave. Oh, wow. And on that island there is this creepy lighthouse. Lighthouses also seem to have something creepy to me. Probably not only to me, since they are so often used in creepy environments, and there are kind of a lot of people committing mass suicide, and you have to stop them from doing that and find out why they're doing it. And this is so awesome. This is a very long game, like you have long playing hours, which is something I value a lot, because when I play a game, and those games usually aren't exactly cheap, I want to commit to that game and to that case, and I want to have a lot of working hours. What's up? Cat's back. So The Awakened, my absolute favorite game. And of course, as in all the Sherlock Holmes games, there are a lot of Easter eggs to other cases or even other games, like I mentioned in the story description with the thing of the Agatha Christie games. This happens in other Sherlock Holmes games as well. So then let's get to the next. Sherlock Holmes versus Arsène Lupin, or Lupin, or as I told you, also called Nemesis. So let's listen to the story. Sherlock Holmes versus Arsène Lupin. The story. Set roughly 1 year after The Awakened, Sherlock Holmes and his companion, John Watson, are discussing over breakfast the latest headline dedicated to the daring French thief Arsène Lupin. In the midst of their conversation, Watson comes across a letter mailed to them by the very man in question. Due to his admiration of the detective, Arsène Lupin forewarns Holmes of his intentions to, over the course of a week, steal various items of historical value and importance to the people of London, thus bringing great humiliation to them in the process, unless, of course, Sherlock can stop him first. Thus begins a race against time and a match of two brilliant minds that will take Holmes and Watson all over their fair city in hopes of thwarting this dastardly plot. But is there more to this than meets the eye? Only Holmes will know. Allusions. Some nods to the previous game, The Awakened, are made in the course of the game. The most obvious one is the fact that Holmes has still one of the Cthulhu statues in his possession, apparently in sharp disregard for Watson's extreme dislike for it. When interacted with, a growling noise can be heard. Next is poor Barnes, the bookstore owner, whom Holmes got some help in translating a certain arcane book in the last game. It seems he's taken quite the shine to this dark tome, to the point where it's obviously beginning to wear upon his sanity. And there's a scene where Holmes goes into Watson's room to wake his weary friend and catches him in the midst of a dream, clearly inspired by the harrowing events the two experienced, screaming about tentacles and whatnot. Various items and trophies from the past Holmes stories can be spotted throughout their apartment, among them being the picture of the dancing man, one of the 6 Napoleon's busts, a painting of the Reichenbach Falls, that picture of Irene Adler, and so on and so forth. So, Sherlock Holmes versus Arsène Lupin is a very good game, but it's not one of my favorites. I think the most part or the biggest reason for that is that there aren't this many places to explore this time. There's not only one, there's not only two, but you keep going back especially to one place in this game, and this is kind of a bigger place. It started to annoy me after a while. This is it. And also this is not so much my type of story, let's say. So like, this is nothing mysterious or creepy. This is more like there's a thief and you have to stop him from stealing stuff. So there you explore, of course, again, Baker Street and its surroundings. Have to do your experiments again at your laboratory table, consult your archives, disguise yourselves in the wardrobe. Yeah, like you can use makeup and different clothes. Is it in this game? I don't remember, but in a lot of games you have to like disguise yourself as a doctor or... But I think in this game this isn't the case. So there is this thief, this French thief, Arsène Lupin, and he is stealing British treasuries. Like, I don't know, a lot of paintings. He kind of is a proud Frenchman, angry at the British, claiming that victories they achieved in battles or whatever are not legitimate, and or some treasures they have, he says, belong to France, and so he steals them. So kind of he wants to embarrass England, basically. So Sherlock is after him. He wants to catch him and find out which is going to be Arsène's next target. But Arsène gives him leads. Like, it's like a game to him. He challenges Sherlock to find out what his plan is. So he like wants to be caught by Sherlock, or more wants to prove that he's more intelligent than Sherlock. So he teases him. And you go to an art museum, which is one of my favorite parts, because these are leads I liked. Like, you got in every painting or in the notes, the description, cryptic description led to some sort of painting, and there you would find another note, kind of like a children's game somehow, and these are children's game I liked. So then you go to a museum. This is not an art museum, this is more of a history museum, I would say. Like, there is Egypt, ancient Egypt, Greece, and then there's also the ancient British part. So there are various parts of the museum that you explore, find out riddles, because the leads Arsène gave you told you that his next target would be something from that museum, but he always outsmarts Sherlock and, of course, the police. And then he gets to the region of the White Tower, and this is the place you visit many times. And this is what kind of annoyed me after a while, that you always went back to the White Tower area, which is quite big. And yeah, you have to find different kinds of there happens the funniest Easter egg I've ever seen in my life. Like I've mentioned before, you have to find various birds. There is an owl, there's sparrow, I think, or I don't know, pigeons, different kinds of birds. And one of those birds is a bat. So the bat in this dark room is fluttering around, and they have to catch it, but they can't because it's so fast. So they decide to stun it by taking a picture of it and stun it with a flashlight. And then on the picture you see like the Batman, the bat sign. Boy, I couldn't stop laughing at this. This was so funny. And yeah, this is what I loved about this game. And they even said something else that led to Batman. I don't remember, but it was a very funny situation. So yeah, in the end, of course, Sherlock Holmes catches. You go to the palace, also to the Buckingham Palace, and there's the Queen in the game being kissed by Arsène Lupin. Don't know about that, but yeah. So in the end, of course, Sherlock catches Arsène, but he has so much respect for him and his intelligence that he lets him free somehow, and they become friends, distant friends, who show great respect for each other. So this is a very good game. The riddles are very good, but I think the riddles are very extremely difficult sometimes. A good thing in this game is that in your diary, you can get hints. And you can get many hints. Like when you click once, you get one hint. Like it only gives you a slight hint. When you click again, then it gives you another hint until it almost tells you the answer. And there are, of course, riddles you can skip. Something I don't like to do, but I have to admit that in this game, once or twice, it was necessary. Alright, then let's get to the next game, which is Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper. This is, I think, my second or third favorite Sherlock Holmes games after The Awakened. Let's listen to the story. Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper. The story. Sherlock Holmes is in a familiar state at the start of the story, that most odious state of abject boredom as he turns to some of his old habits to pass the time, much to Watson's displeasure, while outside, unbeknownst to the two, a prostitute's life is being snuffed out in a most brutal fashion on the streets of Whitechapel. It will not be the last. Naturally, such a shocking murder makes the morning headlines, since a similar murder apparently happened about a month earlier. At first, Holmes is not surprised about such incidents, nor particularly interested, as such crimes are common occurrence on the streets of Whitechapel. After some nudging from Dr. Watson, Holmes agrees to go to the police station to try and assist. But despite his reputation, the higher-ups on the case are confident in their own abilities to solve the case, thus aren't very forthcoming with police reports or help for that matter. Regardless, Holmes opts to conduct his own investigation into the murders, an investigation which will take him into the dark heart of one of history's most lurid murder mysteries.
Notes. Due to the historical date of the Ripper murders, 1888 to 1891, this entry so far predates the other four chronologically, which all seem to take place after the Great Hiatus. One of the wanted poster illustrations is the composite sketch the player creates of a suspect in the 2002 game Post-Mortem.
So, in Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper, you have to find Jack the Ripper, the murderer, the famous murderer. Everybody knows who he is. Bad thing of this game is that you're all the time mostly all of the time in the same region again, which is Whitechapel and Baker Street, and the police station, like Scotland Yard. This is something I don't like that much because I like to have more areas to explore, as I've mentioned like a million times by now. So, yeah. What I really like about this game is that there's something new now. Like, you find bodies, and those bodies, like, you have to, moreover, Dr. Watson has to investigate those bodies to find out the murder weapon, the time of death, what killed it, like the reason of death, how do you call it? And this is something I really like. What I did not like that much is that when you investigate the body, it's not the body shown, but it's like a painting of a body on the floor. And then I wonder, after The Awakened, which was so gory with mutilated bodies and everything, was that really necessary? I would have preferred to have the actual body. But this is something awesome. And also, you investigate the area of the murder, interview people close to the area, and then you have to like reconstruct the murder, kind of. And you go into this other window where you can put the time of happenings in the timeline and say, like, a long knife must have been used, so you can put stuff together to reconstruct the crime. And this is something I really, really loved. Also, you investigate, of course, a lot of directions, and you find creepy things, and you always try to find out not only who the murderer is, but who the next victim is going to be, and the victims always seem to be prostitutes, and you later find out why and everything. So this is, I really like this game, especially because of these new features. Yeah, very good.